Welcome back to the Gone for 10 show, Larry. You look a little bit confused. You've picked the wrong football jersey today. I like it, but we are here to talk about the NRL. So, how are you doing tonight, Larry?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Only one night left. One more sleep until the NRL proper kicks off, and it's going to be a massive game. Manly Penrith. I'm really looking forward to it, as I'm sure you and all our listeners are. But finally, the footy's back, baby, and it's been a long off season, so really looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely exciting. Obviously, we will jump into who we think will win each game towards the end of this video, but we do have four teams that we are going to pump through so we can finish off our season previews. We'll jump straight into it, Larry. We're going to jump into the Raiders. The boys from Canberra, they like their milk. You've got 14th, I've got 11th. Why do you have the Raiders so low?
They're just so inconsistent, aren't they? They're just one of those sides. They've got all the talent. And again, if I look at the ins versus the outs, I'd say those are solid ins. Nick Kotrick returns to the Green Machine. Adam Elliott, obviously well documented around what happened at the Bulldogs, but I think on his day, he's a good player. They've got talent. It's not a talent thing for the Raiders. They're inconsistent. They had a few seasons there where they made the grand final, made a semi-final a few years back, and then they just go back to being the good old Raiders. They don't have consistency, and I don't think Ricky Stewart helps the situation by digging his players out. We've already seen it for a trial game. He says same old shit with the Raiders. We're always being targeted. Like, you're giving your players an excuse for a poor result. He doesn't see that, and I don't see any reason why that's going to change this season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I do agree with you. I think, like I said, the reason I do have Raiders a bit higher up that ladder is I think there are teams around there, and we've spoken about those teams already that we see finishing in that bottom four that are going to make it quite hard for me to put the Raiders any lower than obviously the position in 11th that I put them now. Like you said, there is a lot of that whinging, and you hope that by Ricky whinging off the pitch, you hope that doesn't show his players whinging on the pitch and they talk their way into penalties or talk their way into sin bins. Because we saw last year, if you get a player sent to the bin with these new rules and this new speed of the game, you're going to get punished, and that's just what's going to happen. That's life. But it is interesting. I mean, they have obviously always had that good side that can compete and make the top eight. But I think this year, like you said, it's just one step too far for the Raiders. And I mean, I'm not going to be too upset if we see him go out. That Viking clap gets in my head when they do it in an away game, but
it does my head in.
It is what it is.
Good players, though. Like, honestly, I'm looking through their pack now, like Josh Papali, Jordan Rapana, Xavier Savage, big raps on him. Tom Starling. Like, there's so many good players. Joseph Tapine. They're riddled with talent, but I don't know what it is. I look at them on paper and I say they should be challenging for top 5, top 6, but they just fall away. I don't know why that is, but I think a lot of it has to do with Ricky Stewart. I really do. What's your opinion on Stick? Obviously, he's been successful, but he's also failed to make the finals on numerous occasions throughout his career. And do you think Ricky Stewart holds the Raiders back from potentially fulfilling their potential? It's the same voice for a very long time. And you got to think, outside of Bellamy and Robinson, he's the longest serving coach, yet he doesn't have the success behind him like the other two do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I hold Ricky to a high regard purely because obviously what he did at the Roosters. He came in, he turned us into that winning mentality. He then left, and obviously Robinson's now come in and he's continued that mentality. But I think the biggest issue with Ricky is he's coaches really good teams like the Roosters who were so dominant that maybe he didn't have to win. So if a call went against him, it didn't really matter because they then went on and scored 24 points and won the game. So like you said, that whinging probably does hold him a little bit back. If they make a mistake, they get to training. Does he go into training and go, and listen, guys, don't worry. They stuffed up. The referees cost you that game. Because if you're not holding your players accountable, like you said, it's scary times, Larry, and players are going to start falling away. So that could be a great talking point. But I'll ask you, how big of a loss do you think George Williams is to this team?
Yeah, he is a loss. He definitely is a loss. In saying that, I still think they've got enough talent to cover for it. Look, we've had this debate with a number of NRL sides. Halfback is one of those positions you can't account for not having a good halfback. In saying that, you look at their side; it's still riddled with a lot of talent, and I think they've got experience in their side. It's not the youngest side in the NRL, to be honest. So we'll see. What's the young kid's name? Brad Schneider. Let's see how he goes. He might absolutely tear it up, and we're sitting here in a week's time looking stupid. But I don't know. I can't see them finishing higher than. I mean, I've predicted. What did I predict? 12th,
You predicted 14th. 14th.
14th. There you go. I can't see them pushing any higher than 10th. I don't. They just lack consistency.
Yeah, 100% agree. Now, you did mention that they might need a new coach other than Ricky Stewart. So they're going to move into one team, obviously, that has brought in a coach in the offseason. It is the Cronulla Sharks. They have brought in Craig Fitzgibbon. He has been under, obviously, Trent Robinson, one of those elite coaches you said, for a very long time. They've had a few big ins. How big of an in to you is Nico Hines for this squad?
Yeah, he's a massive signing, but this is again one of those sides where I worry about the halves. Like if we look at round one, they've chosen Nicholas Hines and Matt Moylan in the halves. That's a really odd pairing to me. That reminds me of the Bulldogs when they had Josh Reynolds and Moses Sembai in the halves. Two sixes don't necessarily form good partnerships. So who's going to control the game there? And that's the thing that probably worries me a little bit. In terms of talent, everywhere else, I like it. I like the pack. I like the acquisition of Dale Finucane. I think that's a really good signing and brings some much needed grunt and experience into the pack. I like Blake Brayley. I think he's a really good hooker and could even potential for representative honours in the years to come. It's a really good side. It's a really good side. I'm looking at them 1-17. They're strong, but the halves, that's the one thing that worries me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have a very good pack. That halves, it might be something that takes a couple of weeks for them to figure out. Who knows who's going to end up there in a couple of weeks? But obviously, one big in that is technically still out for a couple of weeks is obviously Cameron McInnes. He did come
Yeah.
from the Dragons. He was out all last year with the ACL. He's now had to go back under the knife and get it cleaned up a little bit. Will he get back to his best, Larry? I mean, I've had ACL surgeries. I'm not sure if you have, but it's always hard for a player to get back to that hype of where they were. So, yes, maybe when they made this signing, it was a massive signing, but do you think the Sharks maybe missed out a little bit here, given his whole season on the sideline?
Yeah, look, thank God I haven't had an ACL rupture before, but look, I think there's sports science has come a long way, and in a professional environment, I think we've seen that most professionals can come back relatively problem free the way they were. It might take a little bit, and at his age, how old is Cameron McInnes? I'd say he's 29 to 30. He wouldn't be young, so it'd definitely be in his late 20s at the very least. I think he'll absolutely still add to the Sharks. Look, you can't account for experience. I think you look at a lot of the other sides that we've reviewed so far, and I look at this Sharks team, and the thing that I really like about him, there's a lot of finals experience there, and there's a lot of proven winners. And I don't think you can ever have enough of those sorts of players. So, no, I don't have any concerns. He might take a little bit, but I think he'll build into the season. And at the tail end, when they're needing to look to leaders to win those tight games, I think you want Cameron McInnes next to you for sure. I think he will be a good signing. I have no doubt.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think, obviously, I had him 7th, you had him 8th. I don't think this is a team that's going to struggle too much to make that 8. I think there might be a gap between that 8th, 9th, 10th this year. And I think that's a team that's going to not push for top 4, but they could challenge that 5th and 6th position if they hit the ground running and get the results go their way. So it's going to be interesting times. Obviously, I'm rooting for Craig Fitzgibbon. I loved him when he played for the Roosters, loved him as the assistant, but he's moved on, and it's going to be exciting times for him, obviously, and he might do a bit better than a coach at
He's
you've got at the
actually going to
moment.
miss the
So,
game. He's got COVID, so very
yeah.
unfortunate for Craig Fitzgibbon. But look, I think he will be a good coach. There's a lot of raps on him, and the fact I think who was haggling for him? It was the Sharks and another team at the time. I think was it the Warriors? Not
Yeah, I think the
100% sure.
Warriors were in for him. Yeah, I think the Warriors
Yeah,
were in for him.
you know, I think coming out of that Rooster system, you're always set up for success. Look, we'll obviously talk about the Newcastle Knights, and there's evidence there that suggests maybe that's not always the case. But I think with that roster, with Craig Fitzgibbon, I think the Sharks think they should make the 8 this year.
Well, we will with it. We are going to talk about the Knights, all you Knight fans, if you are listening, but we are going to leave that to last
What
because it
Knights
is the
fan?
most. Well, Michael supports the Knights. He's a listener. We'll have to give him some stick in it. But that is the most contrasting between me and you, Larry. So we will leave that one to last, and we'll jump into obviously the Gold Coast Titans now. Fafita, that man right there, he's on screen. He bagged 17 tries last year. He was dominant. I've got him just missing the 8 now. This could go either way. There are another team. There's 4 or 5 teams that could go between that 7th to 10th position, but I just think the youthfulness might cost him a little bit. Obviously, you do have Isaac Liu, who did come from the Roosters. Brilliant player, brilliant signing.
Yeah.
But I look at those outs of obviously Anthony Don, Fogarty, Peachy, Ash Taylor, and I just think there's too much experience leaving there, Larry. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to say I don't agree with you, albeit I've predicted them to finish lower than you have. They're one of those sides where I think they have enough to make the 8. I really do believe that. They're another one of those sides where I don't see the consistency there. I looked at them last season, and to be fair, they did put some good patches together in glimpses. And there was a few games there where, they were winning back-to-back games. But they're just another one of those sides. I mean, if I say where's the weak point for the Titans, I'd probably say it's the back line. Brian Kelly's good. Is he brilliant? I think jury's out. He can be. Patrick Herbert, Corey Thompson. I like Corey Thompson. He's all heart. But when push comes to shove, I think you need better. And I look at that back line, and Jaden Campbell's still unproven. Yes, he looked good last season, but he hasn't had a full run in first grade. He gets the number 1 shirt. Toby Sexton looked good last season. Again, can he back that up? So there's just a few question marks there for me for the Titans. And that's probably why I have them sitting a little bit lower. But in saying that, if they go on a run, which they're fully capable of, and like you said, David Fafita, easily the most dangerous strike forward in the game, they can definitely go on a run and they can push for the finals.
Yeah, 100%. And I did have him in the 8. I did change that before we obviously recorded. And it was purely because I looked back to, obviously, they did almost take the Roosters out last year in that final series. Again, though, it was that youthfulness of, I want to score a try. I want to be the hero rather than flicking a pass and Titans knock out the Roosters in the final minute. So that is the reason I obviously did chuck them in that 9th position. I think they'll be there or thereabouts. You always are when you have Fafita in your team. But that back line is questionable. So we will jump into our last team, Larry. It's going to shock a few people because there's a massive gap between where I've got them, where you've got them. I've got the Newcastle Knights fighting for the spoon at 15th. You've got them 7th. I want to hear your opinion first, because for the life of me, I cannot think how you have this team in 7th when there's other teams around that are much better than this squad.
I'll tell you what, Antonio, and I'll tell you to anyone who's watching this video, once I give my opinion, like the video, subscribe, and just turn it off, because anything Tony has to say is going to be garbage. All right? That side, I don't know how on earth you've got them coming 15th. They've got a phenomenal forward pack. Phenomenal. And that will keep them in games more times than not. And then at the back, they've got Kalen Ponga, who, if I'm being honest, I think is overrated. And I say overrated, that doesn't mean he's not good. I think he's absolutely in the top 5 fullbacks in the NRL. But the problem for me is he's held in this high regard like he's Billy Slater. And it's like he's nowhere near that. Now, I'm telling you, I'm shitting on him while telling you why they're going to finish in the top 8. I look at their side and I like the balance there. Like I said, their forward pack's the strength of the team. 100%. David Clemmer, Jacob Saifidi, Tyson Frizzell, Logan Fitzgibbon, Kurt Mann. That's a good, solid pack. It's got a balance of work rate, strike, and a little bit of ability on the edges. I really like the side. In the halves, I like Adam Clune. Dragons fans thought highly of him. I think he should be able to put it together. Jake Clifford, again, it is a young, inexperienced halves pairing, but I look at them with more confidence than I do, say, the Raiders, who we just spoke about. So I think they've got a recipe there where they can do something this year. I expect them to make the top 8. I think it's a good side.
Is this where I stop talking because you told the fans to turn off? So do we end the episode here, or I give my opinion?
Tell everyone why you're deluded if you must.
Honestly, I look at that and I go straight to their outs. Now, Mitchell Pearce wasn't always the best, obviously, halfback, the playmaker. But at club level, he knew how to run a squad. And a lot of the games that they did win, it was either Kalen Ponga starred or Mitchell Pearce starred. Now, they're going to lose Ponga to Origin. He's going to be out for at least 3 games. Those are crucial games where Newcastle usually do pick up points. With that inexperienced half, I can see them losing 2 of those games. You then flip to who's their next playmaker? It's Connor Watson. He's now gone to the Roosters. He's going to start in a star-studded Roosters lineup. We've spoken about that. So if the Roosters are pinching someone to start them in that 13, you've got to be saying they're missing a lot there, Larry. It's not Watson's not a player that you lose and you snap up another playmaker. Like, how big of a loss for you is Connor Watson?
He is a big loss, but I'd rather look at. I think you're looking at it with the wrong lens. Like, I take your point, and yes, they've definitely lost something there. But if you still look at that team 1-17 as they line up in round one, it's a good side. You know what I mean? Like, that happens. Like, to counter your argument, if I looked at the Melbourne Storm the year Cooper Cronk left, I could say, well, Cooper Cronk's on the outs list. This team's going to struggle. But at the end of the day, if you've got a good nucleus, you can still get results. And I look at that Newcastle
I
side.
can't believe. Hold on, I can't believe you just compared a Melbourne Storm side with Cameron Smith still in the squad in that line.
Well, no, it's a very extreme example, but I'm just highlighting that one good player or two good players leaving doesn't mean a side's going to go from finals or finals contention to being at the foot of the ladder. I just think there's enough talent there compared to the other sides in there. Don't tell me the Bulldogs are finishing above Newcastle. And I'm a Dogs fan, and I'm telling you that.
That is one of the ones I have changed. I have put the Bulldogs a bit lower, so we will put our full lineups out. But honestly, I do see the Bulldogs finishing above this team. The Bulldogs have more talent, if they gel, more talent than what the Newcastle Knights have on paper in that 17. Obviously, outside depth, they don't. But you can't disagree that if you put your best 13 against that best 13, you guys won't run over them, because I think you run over them comfortably.
All right, I'm going to throw a few. I can't believe I have to do this as the Dogs fan. Kalen Ponga or Matt Duffy?
Ponga.
All right. Jaden Ockenbaugh or Dominic Young?
Ockenbaugh on his day. I'm taking Ockenbaugh.
You're fried. Bradman Best or who do we even have in the centers? Braden Burns.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Bradman Best.
Jake Avalero, God, or Adam Clune? You're choosing Adam Clune.
I'm going to chuck. That's who you've picked. I'm going to say Flanagan or Clune. Who are you taking?
Yeah, well, okay. Well, let's say you're right. He's in reserve grade. So that's my point. Like, you can't look at this side and say Dogs have more talent on paper. Yes, we got Tavita Pangai Jr., but then Newcastle got Tyson Frizzell. I'd say they cancel each other out. Tyson Frizzell is a representative player. They got David Clemmer. We've got Luke Thompson. I actually think David Clemmer's a better player. So that's the thing. Like, yes, Dogs got Paul Vaughan, but they got Jacob Sayafidi. So they've got a lot of talent. So I don't agree with that argument. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, one of us is going to be right. One of us is going to be right come the end of the season. Obviously, I've just had a quick look while you were talking then. And if you're looking at from a betting perspective, gamble responsibly if you do, besides the West Tigers, North Queensland Cowboys, New Zealand Warriors, the Knights are next best price to miss the 8. So
yeah, the punters are geniuses, aren't they? That's what we're going to go off, please.
Well, I mean, it's obviously shown that there's a lot of experts out there don't rate this Newcastle side. And everything I've listened to, they're saying, like, I've listened to about 5 or 6 different podcasts on Newcastle, and they've all said bottom 4, maybe escaping the bottom 4. So it's going to be interesting. One of us is going to have egg on our face come the end of the season, regardless of what happens here. Or they might meet somewhere in the middle and they come 10th, and we'll both be happy with our predictions. But we're going to jump on, Larry. We're pushing that 20 minutes. We've got one more thing to do. Like you said, the NRL season starts tomorrow. I'm excited. You're excited. We're going to go through quickly. We'll get our tips. We're not going to go into depth in each game, but obviously in the review show we will. So, Larry, kicking it off. The Premiers, Penrith taking on Manly at Bluebet Stadium. No Nathan Cleary. So, obviously, how big of a loss is he, and how do you see this game going?
Massive game. I'm going to go with the reigning premiers. I think it will be tight. I lean towards the boys from the foot of the mountains, just given it's a home game. I think that Penrith crowd will be ready, and they'll get the mountain boys home. In saying that, I mean, just on paper, man, Penrith are powerful, aren't they? I mean, I think Manly will do well this year, but I think you predicted 4th. I've predicted 5th. Penrith are strong. I look at Penrith, Melbourne, Roosters as like their own competition. And then there's 5th to 8th. which is another competition, and then there's the rest. So I think Penrith will win, and they'll not throw Manly off the park, but I think they'll definitely be convincing.
Well, obviously, we're going to have to keep a record of this and see who gets the most tips right throughout the season. Because I actually did have Penrith, but I am going to go Manly in
Oh,
a tight game.
Brave man.
I'm just looking at this game as, like you said, you mentioned all that. Obviously, the foot of the mountain, they've got their fans there. They have a star-studded squad. I look at this game as
No
a
Nathan
number
Cleary
7 can
though.
decide this.
I
What
mean,
was
if there's
that?
a game, well, no Nathan Cleary for this game, so
Yeah.
a massive
And
out. And if there's an opportunity for Manly, it's definitely here.
yeah, and purely that's the only reason I really picked Manly. No Nathan Cleary versus a Daly Cherry Evans, who I think can control this game with that number 7 with his kicking game. So, like I said, we're not going to go too much into it. We'll do that in the review show. So we'll pump through these nice and quick. Canberra versus Cronulla. Who are you going, Larry?
Oh, Canberra Cronulla. I'm going to go the Raiders, like I said, they've got the potential to make the finals. They're just not consistent. But a good old cold night at GIO Stadium, I could see the Milk Boys getting it over the Sharkies.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, that is who I've gone. I have gone Canberra. I was tossing up. This was probably 2 of the 3 games I was tossing up, but
Could
I
go either
also
way.
went Canberra. It could be, but obviously, again, a no Fitzgibbon. Is that a big call? We don't know. He's going to be out, obviously, for the last steps of preparation. So that could be a massive deterrent in who wins this game. So we're both in agreement there. I'm going to go with the next one. It's Brisbane versus South Sydney. No Adam Reynolds. I am going South Sydney to absolutely demolish this Brisbane side. Larry, are you seeing more of the same, or do you think Brisbane have a chance?
If Adam Reynolds was playing, I would give the Broncos a hope. Just I've got this feeling like they're gonna turn up. I think they'll be in the fight. I don't think it'll be an absolute flogging, but I think they'll have a bit too much for Brisbane.
Well, we won't have to wait too long to see Adam Reynolds against him because they play again in a couple of weeks. I think it's 5 or 6 weeks. So we'll get to see him against his old club there. But moving into this could put egg on my face based on what I said about Newcastle. It's my boys, the Sydney Roosters versus Newcastle. Biased aside, I think we have too much talent across the park to lose this game, Larry. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, look, Roosters comfortably. If there's going to be a blowout score, I think this could definitely be one of them. I mean, there's another game where I think there's potential for that as well. But I think the Roosters will show their class against Newcastle.
Okay, green. This isn't good. We're agreeing on too many tips here, Larry. This is either we're really good at this or we're going to get very bad reviews when we come in next week and see the results. So the Warriors versus a team we think could make the top 8, the St. George Illawarra Dragons. I'm going St. George. I think it's going to be a very exciting game, but what do you think, Larry? Are you going with me with St. George or are you tipping the Warriors?
No, I'm going St. George. Like we said in our preview, I think they've been written off for no apparent reason, to be honest. I think the Dragons could do really well. I mean, they went in my top 8, but again, one of those sides who I think can do it if everything falls their way. No, I like the Dragons here. Warriors, like we said, all the talent in the world. Don't give you any reason to believe in them, though. I'm going to say the Dragons. And the Dragons, I'm going to say Dragons 13 plus.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that wouldn't shock us, especially if they continue that form that we saw in the Charity Shield. Now, another game that I think could blow out, it could get ugly, obviously, is Melbourne and West Tigers. I have gone Melbourne. I heard a quote saying that the West Tigers were fired up for this game. And there was a joke going around going, good, I'll only tip Melbourne by 30 then. So I think Melbourne, they're going to destroy them. I think it's going to be 13 plus again. But are you saying more of the same, Larry, or do Tigers
13
stand a
plus,
chance here?
please. It's going to be 30 plus. Melbourne are going to wipe the floor with the Tigers.
Yeah. Was this the game last year where Melbourne were almost they were beating the clock for the majority of that match? They almost put 60 points on them or something crazy like that. It's not looking good for Tigers fans, but
I wanna give them hope, but I think they'll try hard for about 5 minutes. They'll concede one, and then the floodgates will open for sure.
All right,
The
we'll
only
jump
hope,
into it.
what's the forecast on Saturday? Is it going to be pissing rain? If it's pissing rain, they might get beaten by 20. Saturday, no, they're shit out of luck, the Tigers. It's no rain on Saturday. Yeah, they're going to get flogged.
Well, obviously, we'll move on. We do have 2 Sunday games. It is the last 2 games of the round. So we are going to jump into that first one. There is rain when you predict this, Larry. So there is going to be rain in Sydney. It's Parramatta taking on the Gold Coast Titans. I think at Combank, sorry, now, in wet conditions, that's where Gufferson's going to shine. We're going to see the coming of Dylan Brown this year. He's going to go up another level. You're going to have Moses. I'm going to go Parramatta, and I want to say comfortably, but it is Parramatta, so I'm going to stick to that 1 to 12 range and say it's going to be a bit of a closer game.
Yeah, only because it's a tricky one, you know. I think it's Parramatta for all day long, just a matter of how much by. I don't know. I think the Titans do try hard, to be fair. I think if it blows out, it'll be toward the end. I think the Titans will be right in it. This is the year for Parramatta. If they're ever going to win the comp, they will not have a better chance in this season. Like we said in the preview for them, they've got a lot of talent, and their premiership window, you have to say, it's starting to close. They're losing a lot of. They're already losing 2 key players for next season. So, as a Bulldogs fan, I hope they crumble. But to be honest, based on their talent, they honestly should be having high aspirations. And if they're serious, they need to put the Titans to the sword. No pun intended.
Well, 100%. It was a great pun. We're going to intend it. It's fine. So we're going to move into, obviously, your boys coming up last, North Queensland versus, obviously, the Bulldogs. You have tipped North Queensland to come last to collect the wooden spoon. Are you going to have egg on your face at the end of this game, Larry, or are you tipping the Cowboys?
I hate to say it, but I can't see the Bulldogs winning this one. I looked at the trials of the Dogs, and the way they conceded points against Cronulla was really concerning for me. And the thing is, I looked at the trial, and I think the selection of Jaden Okunbor is a big concern. He lets in his defensive reads are concerning. A lot of tries went in on that side. I don't like the halves pairing. I like Avalira. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's a center. And I think continuing with this experiment at 7 is going to kill the Bulldogs. They're going to really struggle. I think their pack will keep them in the game, but they're going to struggle to score points, much like they did last season. And I think because of that, the Cowboys might be the worst team on the field, but they'll be able to score points because the Dogs got that weak point and they're incapable of scoring. I'm going to say the Cowboys in a tight one.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. I am siding with the Cowboys here. Obviously, like you said, that half partnership for the Bulldogs is a bit of a worry now. We are pushing close to 30 minutes, Larry. I do have one more question for you. We did put it up on Twitter. We put it up on Facebook. Trent Barrett, 6 games to potentially save his job. Do you think that's fair? Do you think he needs to win a certain amount of games, or do you just want to see a constant improvement?
I never understood this. What am I trying to say here? I've never understood this ideology that a coach has X amount of games to save his job. What a load of nonsense. Like if your opening 6 games are Melbourne, Manly, Raiders, Titans, Penrith, and Parramatta. Like, you have to have realistic expectations for your side. What I want from the Bulldogs, and the truth is, I look at them on paper, I think we're strong in our pack, but there's not a lot of depth off the bench. So I wonder, is there a risk of the Dogs falling away during games? Yeah, I think there is. And I look at that backline, and backline's decent, but the halves and the spine of the Bulldogs is a big concern. Outside of Jake Duffy and Matt Burton, the 7 and the 9 are just not very strong. They're inadequate, to put it bluntly. And if you have a weak spine, I don't think you can ask for miracles. So what I want to see from the Bulldogs is be competitive, look like you have a structure, look like you know what you want to do in attack. And if you come undone, that's okay. But if, like, Dogs opening games, who do they have? They've got Manly. I think they got the Storm. I'm certain we got I think we got the Roosters in there as well. Like it's
Well, you
a
start off
tough.
against obviously you start off against the Cowboys, then you have an Adam Reynolds Broncos. You then play someone like Manly, Storm, Penrith, Broncos again with no, sorry, yeah, and then Roosters. I think it is. So 7 games.
Exactly. Like realistically, if I'm Trent Barrett, I'd be hoping I can beat the Cowboys and hoping I can beat the Broncos. Outside of that, I'm hoping for a good performance and let's see how we go.
Right.
If you keep the score close, I think that's respectful. If they're getting flogged every single week, then that's where you have to say his position might come under question.
Yeah, 100% agree. Now, obviously, we are at that 30-minute mark, so we will start to wrap it up. Larry, you love to say it. You're the best at it. What are we saying to everyone that's either following us or isn't following us? What should they be doing?
Well, what you need to do is you need to like this video because me and Antonio need to go to bed. And to make sure we go to bed happy, our heads will float that little bit lighter on the pillow if you hit that like button. And if you're new, make sure you do subscribe because we are the new, the up and coming, the brilliant, extravagant best rugby league show in the world. And if you don't want to do those things, you can go for 10.
Thank you for joining us, Larry. I'll talk to you soon.
Pleasure, mate. Cheers.